Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS here for some. My name's Asterix. I'm joined by Nightstar for the potential last game between Frank Esports and Impunity. PCS sponsored by CDBC Bank and China Airlines. Thank you to Riot Games, Carry Live, and Garena for the operation and the production of the league as well. Now, Nightstar, we have just seen two dominant games from Frank Esports. Under 30 minutes, quite formidably in each. And Frank Esports don't look like they have any intention of slowing down with what has just been pretty masterful gameplay with some pretty aggressive cops.
It's been an absolute masterclass, and Impunity, they're going to try one more time to shake things up. They've brought Apex back in. To be honest, I liked how Apex looked a lot more in game number 1 than what we saw out of Husky in game number 2. I don't recall a moment where I felt like the Yone actually had an impact on the team fight.
Yeah, was there one? Like, we had so many moments where it looked decent as a build-up. As a side note, with Apex coming back in, obviously trying to go back to the core, but for Impunity, again, choosing the blue side, we have to see how it changes, because last game around, Frank Esports, they left topside late in the draft, which is unlike them, set up for a strong 2v2 with the Aphelios Renata Nightstar. I'm kind of curious if Frank Esports will just be happy with that Kalista trade again.
Yeah, and maybe Impunity, they decide to go ahead, ban in the way of Aphelios. Yeah. So here's the thing. It does leave Fiora open. And we know YSKM's best style champion with the biggest highlight reel moments. That's on the table, baby.
For the first time, right? Like 68% of the time in the regular season, Fiora was banned against him. It's always a no-brainer, and prioritizing M&M here with the final one means Impunity must think they have a good response into that Fiora, because that's coming no-brainer, as the Zeri is something that's been looked over this series in regards when the Kalista was available. But this time, Impunity with the Kalista banned away are going to take that first pick off the board.
Zeri will be that first pick. I feel like it's going to be a no-brainer for the Fiora to come through. But with the Zeri locked in, it does give them sort of the late game scaling champion that they need, that also has the ability to self-peel. He's going to be able to make his own plays in this instance, and the Yuumi is still left available, so they should be able to go ahead and snap that up if they want to go in that direction. However, with the current Lucian hover, we might see Frank Esports go for the Lucian Nami lane, and that spells a lot of threat towards Zeri Yuumi in particular.
You just don't need to take it there. I mean, AD's already been shown. The Yuumi would be a good takeaway, but I guess Frank Esports still, as you said, want a Lucian Nami lane, the aggression to come through, and Impunity don't even feel like they want the Yuumi. So we're going to get Nautilus instead from Houston, and it's interesting considering that Houston's most played is that Yuumi this split, so I guess for Frank Esports, they're just going to get the Lucian Nami lane, and Impunity kind of want to stop it in its tracks by adding a piece into the 2v2.
It does mean they're going to have to bring in Alex into that bottom lane.
Yeah.
With the extra engage power coming in from Nollis, you want to fully capitalize on that. And Zeri is one of those champions that's been nerfed so much that her early game is extremely weak. She just doesn't pump out a ton of damage. So even if you land a great hook as Nollis, it's hard to capitalize in a 2v2 situation. So you do need to bring extra resources down. Now into the second phase, it does mean we won't see the Fiora, as that will most likely get banned out. And the Zillion pick, I love this call out coming in from Frank Esports, knowing that because Apex is in there, and because they have played in the past to really try and play more of a lift the puppy style of gameplay, that's definitely a risk that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, you pulled it out earlier in the broadcast. Another part of that might be Apex on something that can help move across the map, like the Talia, but Seraphine also goes to more the supportive role in the mid lane. So Frank Esports limiting options there, while Impunity, that Fiora is still available. They got rid of the Jax. Surely, if they're targeting top side, yep, it's going to be banned yet again. So YSCam not lucky enough to get it through, but he will just blind pick top yet again. What a surprise.
And he's going to get his hands on this Camille here. And for the side of Impunity, I would like if they opt for something like the Renekton in this instance, who does get outscaled by the Camille, but you can still challenge in the lane phase, and you are going to be able to team fight a lot easier than a Kennen who is super reliant on those flanks to find impact.
Thank though, Impunity, the change up. Chances are that is going to be a Renekton mid though. Up and top side, Rumble has been seen. Shanji over in the LPL, an OMG player that was knocked out of playoffs. This was his kind of pocket pick. So I'm going to wait until we see where it exactly goes. But that's kind of my expectations. Because right now for Frank Esports, trying to kind of expect the lane allocation here as well. Pretender has played quite a lot of X, but the Orianna instead is an interesting one. And I guess we've got a lot of ball delivery for Frank Esports to play with.
Yeah, opting for the Orianna instead of something maybe like the Azir, who I think also could have fit very well into this composition. And against the Rumble, I feel like the Orianna matchup is probably a little bit more preferred, because against the Azir, he does have those Sand Soldiers to deal with them in the 1v1. However, when it comes to team fights, you want the extra mobility coming in from an Orianna, be able to not stand your ground like an Azir would, trying to get those Sand Soldier autos off. So we'll see how it pans out, because it is, an Orianna, once the Rumble carpet does lay out, she might get stuck in isolation. But for the most part, a third look coming in from Impunity. I like the changeup, but again, it doesn't matter what the draft comes out to be. It's really the performance in game, because we've seen, the ideas behind these drafts. It's just the execution has just been all over the place.
Yeah, it really has. And I will say, though, for Impunity, I like at least this time it feels like that there's a response to Frank Esports' top lane. Like, Impunity have decided to throw the gauntlet in, because every time YSCam pulls out these blind pick champions and there's never this hard counter, it's always a competitive matchup, a skill matchup, or a neutralizing matchup like the Sejuani. But this time around, we finally get the Renekton top side. We get something that can punish the hell out of this lane, and especially if they want to focus YSKM again and keep him down, this time the Renekton can run over the game. So I'm looking forward to the Impunity adaptation, as they've thrown a spanner in for the third, but hopefully not the last time. Also, we do have Comet towards mid here with the Rumble mid by Apex, and with Ignite as well. This is all about the laning phase for Impunity in this third game.
It's all about trying to establish kill pressure, and of course, with the Vi, I like how these lanes are set up for Alex, right? You have CC in the bot lane, you have CC in the top lane, and you also have a big magic damage dealer in the mid lane, at least for mid game. Might take a bit of a hit towards the late game, right? None of these champions really scale all that well except for Annex on the Zeri pick. But late game hasn't been the issue for Impunity because they
Haven't
haven't
gotten there.
seen a late game yet.
Yeah, exactly. In a 2v2 though, Annex and Houston setting up. Just a side note here, levels 1 and 2 for Annex and Houston should be good, as that's a great dredge line. And on to Eminem, the trades begin. Remember, Lucian Nami, not really a combination until level 3, where you can get those perfect trades off. And, you know, especially with Electrocute here, we'll be waiting for that to see if Eminem and Carries can survive until then and make sure they don't get bullied out too hard by the 2v2 out of Impunity.
Another hook lands. And when it comes to Eminem and Pretender, both of them are running the first strike. So looking to try and farm up some gold. Also try and get some big poke damage. Maybe we just see Pretender throw out his shockwave, just chunk people out preemptively in this game. And also gotta keep in mind Eminem on the Lucian. He needs to be looking for these proactive ultimates coming in from Lucian rather than waiting and holding on to his culling, which we've seen been a big issue with some of our other PCS AD carries.
Yeah, I feel like Lucian Nami, a lane that in the higher end looks so dominant, in the lower end can look look really easy to take over and make sure they're never a factor in the game. Hollow with his pathing though, might be coming into the perfect timing. I mean, look at the wave state. Hollow's coming in through River, but Eminem's already taken a hefty trade. Flashes away with Ignite down. Now it's only going to be a 2v2, but that should be enough for Houston, who's healed out but still first-blooded. Carey threatens away Annex, but first blood going over to Hollow means Frank Esports can breathe the sigh of relief. Oh, he's back in, Annex. Wait, Annex, respect! That was ridiculous. He walked up to a Wukong and gave him time for his cooldown. That should just never happen.
And YSCam, he knows what's up as well. A big wave stacked up from the side of Impunity. This is, at long last, probably their best setup in trying to deal with YSCam. Just double stack a wave, threaten to dive, and force YSCam at least to channel the recall and force out the teleport. So they do win out in a small trade. But the punish down bot lane is huge. They go for the 2v2
gold lead.
Yeah.
You know, Nightstar, look again.
This is really, I mean, it's a nice hook. The issue is, even because you use that burst of engage coming in from Houston, all his damage is so front-loaded into those skills that, hey, now in this 2v2, even though you don't have Eminem contributing, it's a Wukong and it's a Nami.
So
Two
greedy.
champions that are just so strong at these lower levels.
It's just so greedy. I mean, Flash wasn't burned. They saw the trade from Hollow. 2-0 start. Both bot laners go down. Annex now with no summoners and easily abusable, where Eminem and Carries now have level 3. This is the Lucian Nami trading zone where it gets harder, as with the bot side once again set up by Frank Esports. You look at the wave. Hollow is back down here. There's topside wards to spot him out from all of Impunity. A nice line, but he's still not up there. And Nightstar, it's just rinse and repeat from Frank Esports. Leave topside on an island. YSCam will manage himself. We know Impunity are going to try and get him. While the bot side, we will just rinse and repeat for us too.
Yeah, a lot of attention coming in from Hollow, hovering in this bottom half of the map. And Impunity should have an inkling on what's going on because of the 2 wards they had around the red buff.
Yep.
Around Frank's red buff. So, now they're actually going for a lane gank, and this might go undetected.
Well, Alex is coming in though. First time we're actually seeing a response, but Trenchon not connecting.
There's
the Aqua Prison, the burst in, the flash from Houston, but it's a Lucian Nami whose burst has already come out. That flash now being down with the Ignite from bad to worse as Annex has now lost his support again.
Alex has to also hover down in this bottom half just to make sure Annex is able to get all of this farm too. So that's going to be a little bit more time burned by the jungler of Impunity. And even though he looked so great on the pick in game number 2, because of the clear target that they want to try and change directions of where they want to focus, into this bottom lane now. It's kind of getting sussed out by the side of Frank Esports, and they're perfectly happy.
Oh, they've
with
gone
the
around
result.
the alcove. Oh no, Impunity want to push up the wave. Great response from Annex, but now as they turn on Houston yet again in the 2v2, the burst has already come out, and it might be okay from Impunity. No summoners to burn out, but for Frank Esports, the all-in not successful. A cheeky little gank path from the 2v2, but at least Impunity are able to survive, as Alex is spotted on a ward, so there won't be a return.
And even these small, okay, maybe all in trade here. Jackpot now has the ultimate.
Depends though, depends. We've still got flash available, hook shot, wall shot. Little stun back as YS Cam doesn't fully commit. And Jackpot does have the advantage here, as you said, with ultimate available though. But God, I mean, look, bot lane still a big issue. There's a 1k gold lead. It might not look like that much CS on paper, but we also have to consider the fact that Hollow is now unleashed on this Wukong. 3-0, still hasn't backed here, and he's got a lot of gold he's sitting on right now.
Oh, Apex making his way up. They might be trying to set up for a dive. Great combination between these two, right? Mixed damage, so YSKM doesn't have the items to deal with it.
Yep. How close is Hollow to his ultimate? Wish we get an EXP look as level 6 actually just hit. Yeah. Apex as well, he walked over a ward. You look at the pathing, that deep control ward giving full information as he now returns to the mid wave, and YSKM will stay safe.
Making sure he's safe there is massive, as now Annex
just by himself.
Gonna be safe. But the thing is, even these big, these short all-in trades coming in from Frank Esports is still going to pay a lot of dividends for them because of the fact that they are running the first strike. It's so much burst damage. You're getting 30, 50 gold each and every trade. And that, you know, might not seem a lot, but cumulatively, you're going to get those items way, way faster because of these trades.
And they can do stuff like that because Alex is on a ward doing the Herald on the top side. And Frank Esports have foregone more of that top side yet again, as Herald seems to be looking to be placed top. But I will say, at the very least for Impunity, Jackpot, as you said, in a better position this time around. With Herald getting placed down too, Jackpot should have an early first turret, and so much gold here on this Renekton with a big lead over YSKM.
And this is the first time Impunity have actually had a clear, strong lane. Even in the previous game, the Callista got ahead, but on the flip side, Eminem was also still able to keep up in the gold department, and that's allowed him to match sort of the scaling, and he eventually eclipsed him in the scaling. And now YSKM, Pretender is here though.
A bit too far. I mean, the Herald goes down, and Impunity, the Shockwave is still available. Pretender doesn't use it. And even with the ulti there, I'm not sure about that. Frank Esports is now Eminem underneath the turret. He gets rooted up, and it looks like Frank Esports can make mistakes too, but with the max range culling, it's getting close to being an Impunity wipe at the bottom lane. And with the flash down, Hollow giving a kill over to Carries. Eminem might step up too far, but Hollow is once again the saving grace.
Yeah, and it's just the fact that they know, hey, there's no jungler up or down in this bottom side. We don't need to care about, hey, if we take a bad trade, the jungler's going to be here to turn our day upside down. No, that's not the case. In fact, it's quite the opposite because they have Hollow in their back pocket. So he's there to mop up any low health bars that will happen in that exchange, and they will be able to claim yet another plate. And when you look at the plate situation, yes, you got 5 up at the top lane. And this is, at long last, like Jackpot able to play the game. But we actually need to see how well he now does with a gold lead. That's just a position we haven't seen him all split.
That's true. I mean, look, again, that's why I praised that Impunity this time around actually wanted to play the aggressive option into YSKM's blind side, and it's worked out so far. As I said last game, you know, Impunity, and you're also saying this, that it was like, yeah, last time, you know, Jackpot was given priority, but there was nothing done with the gold. 30 CS almost up here. Make it 20 as Jackpot pushes the wave in. Impunity now having a bit of an early game threat as they start the Dragon. But the bot side and the TP, they're not letting this one go, Nightstar. We're getting a fight.
Collapse is coming in. This is the first Dragon.
No Cyclone. They're going all in. Hollow is going to be knocked up. Equalizer down. That's just
Good pick.
strange from Frank Esports why he would go in without an ultimate, as now Kerry splashes over. Frank are looking a little strange in this one, as they seem to be falling apart on the communication, which was their strength in both games so far. Impunity managed to get the first dragon of the game, which is not something we've said all series long, as Jackpot wants a ward. There's an all-in here at the waiting as a good dominus, but with a culling down and a Hextech ultimatum, it's big. Annex with the ulti, but Alex is the one who needed to engage. Frank Esports with the kick off the bat, but it's still going to be the objective that Impunity came for.
It's a nice little pick off onto the Renekton to try and slow him down just a little bit here. And for the side of Impunity, they get the first pick onto Hollow. Probably did the first big mistake coming in from Frank Esports all series. And it comes in 11 minutes into the game. They end up losing the dragon because of that. And maybe now we get to see some of the discrepancy in that top jungle, right? Because even though Hollow has 3 kills to his name, he is down 30 CS. So EXP-wise, he's a little bit lagging behind Alex. And if he's able to leverage those extra battle stats coming in, it's not like he's behind in itemization either. So that's going to be the key difference in just those base stats for Alex. For the side of Frank Esports, it's about just readjusting yourself. Maybe they won a little bit too hard that...
Slide, hang on, here we go, Equalizer,
Oh,
waiting
look
for
at
the
the
play, just a
damage.
big setup, and Eminem's going to go down. Over to Houston as Apex continues to dive, and they get a response here. Nice setup from Impunity, and Eminem and Carries are caught with their pants down. Now for bottom side turret, is going to balance the gold out massively, and finally Impunity with proactive tools are making something happen.
Yeah, we saw signs of that in game number 1 with Apex pulling the trigger with the Azir. And now this time around, he's got a much higher damage dealing mid-game ult in this Rumble Equalizer. That's making a huge difference come early mid-game. And that might be the sign of Impunity being able to actually claw a game back.
Maybe 2-0 start for the Rumble in mid.
5 stacks
And
on
so
Dark
far,
Seal.
Well, I mean, he's also been roaming around. Apex has been pretty agile as he's pushed out the wave and continued to threaten in sides. And so far, we've seen Pretender on this Orianna do nothing. Let's be real. This Orianna moved topside, shadowed with the ultimate, didn't press the ult button. We saw the strange engage from Hollow without Cyclone in a dragon that's already gone. Pretender wasn't there to press ult button. It has just been an early game of inactivity from Frank Esports, and their bot lane, which has been consistent so far through the series in the 2v2, has now been punished. Impunity are playing the map better, and it's a strange thing to say considering that Impunity didn't really have responses on the map last game. It was top or it was nothing, but this time around, they're not spreading themselves thin. They're consistently making sure these waves are in order before they start moving across the map.
Yeah, and when we look at the scaling, there's no clear winner. Okay, where's Cam? Deep.
Yep, he's deep, caught out, you're right. And once again, being on a place they shouldn't be. Frank Esports in this third game, it is a peculiar turn as they get punished again.
4-man bot though. This should be the shockwave being used. Hollow is sprinting down here.
Well, he's got the Cyclone available this time and Flash. Impunity are going to struggle as
the
wave's not very big, and a TP in response, but aiming onto Annex now for support. Frank Esports go for the turret as the shockwave finally. That was the combo. Equalizer, a great response as Jackpot has to flash away, but now as Apex comes on in and Eminem tries to get the Renekton, taking a turret shot for it. Eminem stepping too far himself, knowing when to turn around and leave. Seems to be the issue as Apex wants to take on the army. Not as much damage on Pretender at this point as he runs forward, about to overheat. Pretender running out of mana, but he's got the flash available. Jackpot in himself with an ignite down. Down will go as the trade's there. Carries it Hollow now, trying as Hollow buying space, getting it. No! Apex is on a rampage and trying to keep this series going.
Apex trying to do it all himself, and okay, Carries hoping and praying that Apex walked up there. As Impunity make a statement at long last into the series. we might have a game on our hands, Sister. I'm you know,
Maybe.
hesitant.
Yeah, me too. As we look at this play again, I mean, the dive, look at how many things Frank Esports are trying to do at once.
Yeah, the wave comes through, just to carve out a little bit of space, and Eminem realizes, hey, the turret's kind of low. Let me finish it off first. And Pretender, this time, he gets a 3-man shockwave, and it's great. But then the equalizer comes through. Frank Eastwards kind of just see Croc in their eyes, and that's all they see, apparently, as they overextend, flash forward. That really spelled a lot of no-nos here, as they try and turn a little bit too much, get a little bit of damage.
I don't understand that at all.
Guys, Renekton is still strong at this point in the game. You can't do that.
Why would you ever walk that close to a Renekton after cooldown?
Yeah.
Bottom left, by the way, we've just seen a kill onto said Renekton. So as we come back, Frank Esports now getting topside turret, but look at Rift Herald, look at the play mid. While Frank are committing there is a dive between two as Pretender is getting depth charge, not for a death, but the equalizer to finish off the job. And Herald getting the turret too. Frank Esports used a bit up in that top side, but Impunity are still confident enough to be able to push for inner, and with Tidal Wave coming through, this could be a turn. Houston hits the wall. Oh dear Lord. The Aqua Prison comes out, and this game has just been so back and forth. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Apex is just so large and in charge right now with how fed he is, 5-0-2. We get to see how the top lane play transpires. Hollow just coming in from behind the turret, same with Eminem. Pretty easy kill secured right in that instance, and Eminem sticks around up in that top side to just continue to push extra wave. And right now, Frank Esports are kind of leveraging this Lucian pick more so as a side laner rather than a traditional bot lane champion, saying, hey, we'll just have you farm up on the side lanes, get caught up here. And he is pretty strong. Just not quite strong.
He just vault break it. He just vault break it in, hoping that Apex will save him. Good Aqua Prison, but Eminem's not nearby. Luckily enough, Alex didn't need to use his flashes. He's relying on his mid laner, who is at 8k now, with almost a Rabadon's death cap and a potential for a Dark Steel to go to Bajai's. So, you know, relying right now on the fact that Impunity are strong in this early game Nightstar, that they can take all the objectives in any fight that comes towards them. Apex, however, if he dies, that bounty, that could turn the game. So I feel like it's all about this mid laner here for the next 10.
YSCam. This is, you know, at the point where YSCam starts turning this matchup, then you start really worrying again for the side of Impunity, because even though, yes, the Sunfire in tandem with the Bladed Rune King is going to make this Renekton quite efficient in these team fights, he's still not going to win the 1v1s once YSCam hits his second item breakpoint.
You know, we talk about Rumble as well, like the snowball or die kind of mentality. Apex is someone who needs to keep the game going, and once we get to 3-item Orianna, once we get to an Orianna that, you know, in these team fights, the Shockwave is going to blast apart Impunity. Now, we also talked about the fact that they have scaling, but you look at Annex, he's 0-3, he's a little bit behind of Eminem in this game, and the Lucian doesn't really have hard front lines to get through in this game as well, Nightstar.
Yes.
Even though it is a chem tank from Jackpot instead of the Sunfire, we're going to look at what Eminem's going to do in this game and how Frank Esports approach these coming fights. It seems that with a great dredge line, that hitbox kind of busted. The ultimate not as great here from the Rumble, but it might not matter as Alex gets the first kill, but Alex is getting turned on, burned, and YSCam is coming in. That TP is from Jackpot, but Apex is the person they want. YSCam threatening his Annex damage still hurts with an Ultra Shock laser, but Frank Esports have the health bars at a disadvantage. They need to back off while Impunity are still strongest.
Yeah, the Electro Zap is being quite problematic trying to navigate around, but now teleport, that's Pretender.
Okay.
Still has a Shockwave.
He's got to get it onto one important target, onto Apex. No, he flashes away. Pretender at least launching out, is using it to be first to go. Jackpot jumping on in onto this Orianna, while Annex stepping up is still a threat. Eminem kiting back as Culling's not available, but he's trying his best. Another kill over to Annex as he steps on up, and he just gets taken down. launch out with a red carpet. YSCam gets jackpot in the trade, but this 12 for 12 kill game is still looking Impunity favored because Apex just won't die.
Apex with that ultimate, just such a huge threat. I did misspeak right there because Pretender came back into the fight with that teleport. Unfortunately, he didn't have the shockwave available, so that big cooldown wasn't available for them to turn the fight around. And you can see this was kind of why I wanted to see the Azir come through a little bit more than the Soriana, which can still be a massive threat in the late game, but the Azir might have done a little bit more as we get to see the replay. Hollow gets a pretty solid engage, but this is not like those previous games where he was just so far ahead. They didn't have the damage to pop him. This time around, Jackpot super far ahead. Annex hitting his item breakpoints at the very least, and they're able to keep these fights competitive. And because of that, now the scaling starts to become a factor, at least when it comes to this Zeri pick in the side of Frank Esports, even though, okay, this is a long trip.
Yeah, it is, but at least you got Apex with you right in the 2v1. Apex will take over. And Impunity keep that gold lead. 3K, 3 dragons they got in the replay. Now another one will lead to Soul here this early in the game. You look at that 4-minute timer, and you see the threat that it poses to Frank Esports. The biggest question is if they can fend it off, because Apex, he's got to be so close to the Rabadons by now, surely.
Yeah, he's going to be really close. And he also has the stopwatch to boot, so this next team fight is going to be really difficult for the side of Frank Esports. And ideally, you're able to find a team fight in the next 2 or 3 minutes to force out the stopwatch. So then once it does get to that soul fight, you don't have to worry about that cooldown being available for very big ticket target on that Rumble.
Speaking of items as well, Infinity Edge almost complete here for Annex. When you were talking about scaling, we look at Eminem, only sitting on a pickaxe, but he's been there for a while. So in this next fight coming up, we should have 3 item 80 carries, maybe a 3 item Renekton here from Jackpot, and hopefully with that fully complete mid lane item for Apex. Just still needs to back. 3 minutes to go until that's up, as Baron sits there waiting, but no team looking at it seriously for now. While that Infinity Edge, actually, as we speak, has been completed, Eminem not on his just yet. So it does feel like that's going to be a big difference here if Impunity are able to set themselves up in position and rely on Annex like they did in that last fight.
And for Frank Esports, they need to try and contest the river position here for this next fight. Because of the fact that if they're stuck in the choke points, it makes the extendo beam be extremely oppressive, along with the ultimate coming in from Apex, that equalizer. And they'll never be able to get through the choke points if they're not there first.
Choke points as well, like so many champions that do it well. As Frank Esports is setting for the engage, YSCam jumps in, Hollow the same, wanting to find a pick on Impunity without Apex nearby, but unsuccessful. They'll be able to trade vision at the very least. 2 minutes until Dragon. Frank sit topside. No vision in that brush. They're hoping that Impunity come and check.
This is a pretty bold hope here, as of course there is that control ward, so...
Lens walking in. They're walking in.
Oh my god!
Wave, and down he goes. Equalizer as well, so that's not in a good spot. Double knock up from Hollow as Eminem heads into position. Jackpot trying for that stopwatch, saving live. Jackpot's going to drop down, and Impunity walking into the trap.
Lord.
Here he goes again. Annex is trying to do
Zeri moment.
Will get the clone. Hollow survives for now. 5 members strong, and Frank Esports have got some timers to work with.
Oh, baby. Frank Esports, they find the trap. Snap up a 3 kills for themselves. They get themselves this mid tower. They don't quite get vision control around this bot half of the map, but certainly a lot of extra gold falling into their hands. They'll now get a couple more item completions for this all-important soul fight.
Infinity Edge is one of them. down there for Eminem. His stopwatch broken, worth mentioning, but another one added in by YSKM. As we look at the replay here, and Frank were just waiting for Impunity to stick their nose where it didn't belong.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a confusing play here coming in from Impunity because they know they're not on the Baron, so we don't need to fight for it. And we also have Dragon coming up in 2 minutes, so that should just be our priority anyway. So there was really no reason for them to go in there except for the mind control coming in from Frankie's Sports.
Doing it again. Eminem with 5k damage. That was before Infinity Edge, by the way, guys. So as we head towards this Soul, this is everything for Impunity to stay in PCS playoffs for this summer. Frank Esports on the verge, if they can delay, of finding another team fight and then trying to pursue that 3-0 in the bottom side of the bracket here. Heading towards the brush. Houston waiting there. Dredge line onto the back line of the tidal wave. Great too, but that equalizer, everyone's sitting on it. Pretender's dead, and Eminem has to get over the wall. Now Hollow is trying his best to kill Annex, but as Alex flashes over onto Eminem, they try to kill him, but trying is not enough. Eminem gets a kill as he comes back in. Someone kill Eminem! Okay. Apex does the job. Hollow now on the verge outside the fight, as it is a 2-for-2, but Impunity don't have jungler alive. If Frank Esports heal up, they have smite advantage.
YSKM.
Got him. There's one going for the other. Flash available. Apex not going to take it. YSKM, as you said, is everything here as they're going to heal up with the honey fruit. Apex is moving in. We don't know. Vision. We need some vision. Apex moving in. Thank you very much to the observers. Now he's thinking, which brush could it be? Carries is sticking around, doesn't want to back off. It's on a ward.
Exactly, that's chasing bait.
Apex backing off, okay. Buying time and going that deep. Apex now has to back himself, and Dragon's going to be denied.
They will stall out the Ocean Soul for another 5 minutes. Great play coming in from Carries and YSKM, knowing that, hey, Impunity, you don't have your jungler. Do you really want to take this risk? However, Impunity, with the extra people all healed up, they'll just turn their attention over to the Baron.
Okay, YSKM going to be here first. Look at where Hollow is. The Baron is just getting burnt alive. They need to get in fast, but it won't be for the steal. Might be the fight afterwards. Here's the dredge line to set up the depth charge. They get Baron, they get out. And now for Frank Esports, the chase starts, but Impunity are already too far off. That's going to be Frank finding themselves at a disadvantage, and Impunity keeping themselves alive with the Baron take.
And again, this is just one of those moments where I see how the fight breaks down, and I just think if Pretender was on the Azir instead, just how much more playmaking could they have? You look at all this mid-game fighting that is happening. Definitely a lot more ability to play make with the Azir rather than the Orianna, who's a little bit more reliant on having the pieces around her to then carry the ball into the fight.
And let's be real, you know, so far Pretender hasn't had the same impact. Like, there's been a couple of fights where we've gotten, you know, the shockwave attempt, but Pretender so far hasn't been in the position where it all piles on top. Nightstar, you look at the tools. YSKM, Hollow, Pretender. Even with the tidal wave, it should seem so simple, but Impunity are being so rugged around the edges. This Rumble has to die. And so far, they haven't had an option to kill him, as Frank Esports are getting aggressed on, with Impunity trying to make use of this Baron.
And Impunity are also just aggressively looking for fights as well. They're not waiting for Frank Esports to set up those flanks, which they love to do with YSKM. And when Pretender is also on this Orianna, you're less worried about two angles of attack because the jungler more than likely plays with the team, so you're only worried about YSKM on the side. And that's allowed Impunity to be a little bit more comfortable in this game, and that's allowed them to come out to almost a 3k gold lead. At 30 minutes, it doesn't feel quite enough, right? To just be like, wow, this gold lead is really game-ending. No, it's definitely not there yet, especially with the scaling coming up on this Orianna. But the extra range from Zeri could just be set up for just one spectacular Zeri moment.
And we've seen, like, so far, though, for Impunity, they've been able to shred through Frank Esports because there's no hard tank on this roster. Hollow going to be the biggest bruiser as everyone else is so squishy.
And no magic
once
resistance.
they're in, they're in. Yeah, that's also true, right? No MR for this Rumble. We've now got a Zeri with 4 items as well, so Annex is going to have a breeze in this next fight. As Gold with this Baron won't really accelerate the game, but at least for Impunity, it has been able to push their map state into about 80% of control. As they try to get the Baron buff into this inner turret in the final piece, as Eminem steps up to delay the play.
It's going to be hard for them to clear out these waves. And at this point, if you're Impunity, you're most likely just going to throw out these equalizers very aggressively, just to zone the side of Frank Esports off of these minion waves and off of these towers to allow them to secure those objectives. And also at this point in the game, it's just at such a low cooldown, level 16, ticked by Apex, that, you know, you can just use it for poke damage. Defender's still looking for his level 16. Once he hits level 16, he can also perhaps play in a very similar fashion where if he just finds 2 people, he can throw out the shockwave, get a bunch of chunk damage down, and hopefully send people back. But this is the fight, Hysterics. It really just boils down to this. If Impunity find the win, they will be able to secure their first game win of the series. Yeah,
one that looked near impossible. I feel like Impunity have been the weaker team of the series so far, but this could be the start of the reverse sweep if they find the fight here. All about that Dragon Soul, as you said, in 30 seconds. As YSKM is baiting them into a bit of a narrow piece in the mid lane. Impunity are forced to back away. YSKM with the GA feeling confident as Vault Breaker now there. But Alex not pulling the trigger. On to Pretender, they're looking for a bit of a pick here. As Impunity run into River themselves, but Pretender's zoning off. This Orianna is starting to get real freaky as Impunity are scared. You can see YSKM aiming for the angle themselves as Frank Esports have the Dragon in their sights.
This is big for the side of Frank Esports having control or entering the river first. Does give them a little bit more leeway when it comes to dodging out or at least placing themselves in a good spot against the Rumble ultimate. But that is still the key ultimate to watching this fight.
Line starts it off though. Tidal Wave in a line though. As there's good damage coming out from Frank Esports. Hollow with a good holding. YSKM in the backline. Annex is not in it, but that equalizer may have turned it around. YSKM into the GA. Frank Esports aren't helping him yet, but we need Pretender's ulti to come out. Where's the shockwave? Impunity have 4 members still alive as Stretchline doesn't get it this time.
He's still
Carries
waiting.
with no Aqua Prison. Pretender holds on to the ulti. I just want to see the beautiful shockwave. The TP comes out in the backline. YSKM
He's almost out of mana.
GA down, but Eminem flashing in the culling. The hero play. YSKM on the other side in front of Apex. They're so low as Eminem fails the E over the wall. My God, this game is just full of errors. But now going to be full of success. The equalizer, as you said, a low cooldown. Hollow is going to die shortly if they jump on in. He's stuck in the pit as Stretchline doesn't connect again. Aqua Prison neither. Eminem still there. Pretender with the shockwave, but no mana. YSKM being the hero, flashing away. Impunity want to get his soul. In for the steal, but not in for a pound. They jump on into Jackpot as Respawn. We've been here for that long as Apex. Goes Golden. YSKM still the target. Stretchline gets him out. He's going to be CC'd to death, but the ulti gets a trade kill. And guess who goes down? It's the Vi. Hollow now trying to play around with Annex, but he's dead too.
Jackpot's
the Dragon denied, but Frank Esports are now in a bad position. Pretender can't get out in time.
Another equalizer!
Carey's going to be dead. TP coming in. He's lensed out, but he's stunned up. And Frank Esports just, what was that?
That, Hysterics. We had 3 equalizers in that fight. That's how long that fight went. And Pretender still didn't use a single shockwave. And it looks like this could just be done and dusted. There are timers coming up for YSKM and Hollow, but it will be 2v3.
I don't think they can do it. I think even with the equalizer coming out, YSKM, they'll have one Nexus turret. Here's the hook shot, wall shot, jumping on in Apex. Gonna be the target, running on in. Hollow gets the shutdown. Now Jackpot onto this Camille, but look at Hollow go. Cyclone onto Annex. GA, this is what I said. There is so much gap close on this 2v2. YSKM get the shutdown, and Impunity just flip it right back.
You know, they didn't have the damage to end, but they really thought they did. Unfortunately, that gives Frank Esports a lot of extra space on the map because they can turn their attention over to the Baron buff. That's more gold into their pockets. They have control to do what they want on this map for a little bit longer. Not exactly towers up available for them to take, but it gives them that moment of a reprieve to try and catch their breath, as that was... I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that fight, Hysterics, because that fight was so freaking long.
Yeah. I just don't. Frank Esports, I've been praising them for 2 games straight. I think it's fair that in game 3, you know, Pretender has had a pretty shocking Orianna performance. And it feels like across Frank Esports map this game, YSKM and Hollow have been picking up the pieces. Like the rest of the map right now, M&M diving too far forward. Carries, I will say, as a Nami support, has been pretty clutch as well. So let's say 3v, you know, 3v the rest. But Impunity just gave away 2 large shutdowns. And I know we talked about this area scaling, but with all those GAs down now, Nightstar, with Frank Esports Camille being 4 items, I feel like now a Pretender just has to press Q and W to make some kind of impact. And Impunity should still be scared with the angles and the gap close that are going to hit their AD carry hard.
Yeah, and the big thing is there's no magic resistance coming in from either team. So these ultimates coming in from both of these mid laners are going to be so impactful. There's not any sustain on either side. So once you take that damage, it will stick. There's, of course, a little bit of Ocean Soul tick or Ocean Dragon regen ticking. That's not too impactful at this point in the game. It doesn't have that much power. So it's really going to boil down to just the first pick. I feel anyone who missteps is going to have a huge detriment to their team. Is when we look at the stasis, it's 4 stasis on the side of Impunity, 2 Zanyas and 2 GAs. And on the flip side, they are going to have YSKM's GA coming back up.
There it is.
And it will be just 2 GAs on their side. So a lot of extra meat to go through on the side of Impunity.
There is going to be 3 with M&Ms almost back up and available. So, you know, we're going to have a lot of Guardian Angels in this next fight because 35 seconds till Dragon.
Yes.
I'm not really ready to do this again, honestly. We've got a 43 kill game in 39 minutes. It has just been infuriating because all I want to see is Pretender attempt the shockwave. We talked about Frank Esports pile up, but so far Impunity have been relying on it better as Jackpot jumps on in, but it is Renekton to run out. And now with 15 seconds, Frank Esports are face checking this brush, but over the wall, Alex goes in onto Pretender, carries, gets chunked out, and Pretender too. Now with the poke down, Pretender's ulti, yes! There it goes! Onto Alex, a double knock. I think GA is going to be popped, but you look at that backline, Camille, who flashes away, but Hollow is carrying this team to victory. Jackpot running away, YSKM looking for the rest. Onto this Renekton, he gets pulled on in. Has he gone too far? They don't say yes. A GA picked up, and Annex gets him on the back end, but look who's left here. Jackpot doing the opposite of his namesake, about to die as Hollow does as well. Alex jumping back in and already double for this Zeri.
Numbers advantage.
I'm surprised he's still alive as M&M just runs out and gets him. Houston now left by himself. It is a game of margins. Margins of error at this point is Alex. Why? Why? They're going into the TP, but Jackpot can't end because they have TPs in response, Nightstar. They know Pretender hasn't teleported in. They're going to give up Dragon, and my brain cells are going to go with it.
Oh, Jackpot. This is technically a true 50-50, but against yeah, this is a very strong M&M, and they're actually going to try and chase for this one. All right, knockup doesn't land. Yeah, Hysterics, let's take stock.
Oh my god.
We had...
What
infinite stasis in pretty much, yeah, all of them got burnt. Except for Eminem's. It was very close at the very end. Takes the 1v1 against Annex, and it was so tight. GA gets pops. Maybe it allows Annex to get a little bit of extra space, get back to his team, get some room to breathe, to then turn on those Zeri engines and finish out the fight. Unfortunately, doesn't work out that way, and I mean, it was a world of difference when Pretender ults at the start of the fight than when he never ults at all.
That's true, dude. Shockwave did something. Who knew?
Shocking.
Pretender, you know, and to be fair, like added context to fighters.
coming
Alex
in.
is spotted on the wall. They know he's there. They know he's there. Onto Pretender. This is the target. The equalizer gets him out. But Alex is dead first. He went deep so far. His team couldn't follow up. Hollow with a triple knock up again. It's a good trade as Annex is getting close to getting the kill, but Eminem steps on up to this Zeri. He's got the GA available. Wisecam doing the same, but Eminem is just piling the damage. One GA going to be popped. Hollow trying to survive. Now to save their 80 carry. It's shut down after shutdown as over the wall Annex goes. Zeri is ridiculous, and Hollow's going to die. And you know what? Somehow, Impunity might just win whatever the heck this game was. Oh my God, I can't. I just can't. What was this?
We got to the certified Zeri moment. They didn't focus their targets quite enough.
It's over.
And Impunity are on the board in a 42.5 slugfest. This is where you say, are you not entertained?
No, because that was just exhausting. There's a difference between, you know, risk factor and playing to your limit, and there were just decisions in that game I just don't understand. I really don't, and I can't until, you know, Zeri ends the game because Zeri just presses Q, but dude, there is so much therapy I might need after that game. Nightstar, I'm not paying for yours, okay? I'm not paying for yours, all right? You're gonna get your own.
I'll send my invoice to Frank Esports after that one. Surely they owe me that, right?
Maybe.
But yeah, that was a hectic game, a discombobulated game. But once more, it's a game where, imagine if that was a Zir. The Zir just goes in, swoops them back, they're all dead. Or they jump onto him, they can't get to him because the Zir just zooms away. Right. Pretender on this Orianna, that was just not the pick. He wasn't able to lane diff this Rumble, and the Rumble ultimates were just infinitely more impactful in the early mid game.
They were. I mean, they were even late, like, you know, no tanks, no full-on, you know, bruises in great positions. Yeah, no MR. I just think, you know, it's such a shame because I think that was Frank Esports' worst game of the split by far. Like, the coordination that we saw in Game 1 and Game 2, the ability to layer their punches, and I think as well, the fact that they didn't have bot lane as a simple threat, as a threat that was so far over the Zeri. You know, Eminem was big on the solution, but it was never foregone conclusion in the 2v2. You know, not having that sense of direction, it threw them a little bit because Pretender, he didn't really dominate his lane. We didn't see much of the threat in the 1v1. I feel like Pretender was a big liability in that game. And it's hard, Nightstar. It's so hard not to be negative because I feel like Impunity, you know, they really earned their keep in the series somewhat in this game. But also, Frank Esports gave it to them on the silver platter, gave them the cutlery, a napkin, tucked it in for them. The butler said, is there anything else I can do? And Impunity were like, yeah, we'll take this to go. That's pretty much how it felt. And I don't know if that's anything else that you can be.
It wasn't like
honest about.
All of Frank Esports were underperforming either, right? We had our Eminem moments, we had our carries moments. We also had ton of Hollow moments still, right? He had such a brilliant early game once more. unfortunately unable to fully leverage those into just straight team fight wins. And even YSKM put behind, he was able to come back into this game. He understood where he stood, where this game was. And I think for the side of Impunity, they found a solution, and that is get yourself the Renekton, get him a little bit far ahead, and allow Apex to work his magic, because he really 1v9'd this for his team. Alex had a couple of good moments, but all these team fight moments were just Apex hitting massive equalizer after equalizer.
I think Apex hitting up the MVP performance, you know, kind of crazy with how this, you know, how
out game 2.
Yeah, that's right. And mid has been better from Pretender's angle. I feel like Pretender's had a really solid performance so far, you know, up until this game. Equalizer hurt them so much in the fights.
Man.
And
this fight, this was 3 hours long. We had 3 equalizers come through and 0 shockwave. Oh, by the way, 0 mana as well.
He has TP. He has TP, and he's just sticking around to auto attack. What is the point? What is the point? To press E and Q a little bit. You got shock. I don't know, dude. I just, as an Orianna player, I have that tattooed to my arm.
Yeah.
I literally have one tattoo. It's a League of Legends tattoo. It's Orianna. And watching that, it's just made me want to, I don't know.
Time to get some tattoo removal. Yeah, you could think of a lot of other scaling mid lane champs in that situation that would just be much more game changing. Something like a Corki, or the aforementioned Azir, where you have playmaking capabilities and also just so much late game damage still. And this one, they full on target Pretender, just trying to get him out of the fight, knowing that, hey, we have physical resistances, but we don't have magic resistance. And this was, it felt like maybe they overextended themselves a bit too much. But thankfully, there was no range to contest Zeri, and Annex, on full build, was able to yoink this fight back.
I just hate Zeri so much. Those ultra shock lasers. Oh, God. Well, even in 12-15, this is an issue. And if we get a Worlds in 12-15, you know, Zeri's going to be a must-pick or ban. I think that's how it has to be approached. We're going to a Game 4. Let's see what happens, because all I can say now is Nightstar. We're going to see Impunity probably try play early game again after all that. And you look at the graph, and the graph tells a big story, but you have to really experience it. You have to go through those almost 50 minutes to experience that one again.
Not quite the LPL graph, right? We didn't have too many color swaps in the gold graph, but you know, it was definitely very back and forth. And the clear difference in this game is just the fact that we see 24,000 damage dealt by the Orianna, just pales in comparison to all the carries in the game.
Like this guy gets MVP. Apex, it's a no-brainer, right? Took so long to die, and you know, in this Rumble mid, pulled it out, wasn't punished in lane, and did so much work moving to sides. Versus an invisible mid laner, Apex was able to take over the game, and it truly felt like this was his time to shine. You know, no subbing out for him now again, and we have to really question how this changes for Frank Esports. We saw the Orianna, we saw an aggressive 2v2 in the bottom lane, and it just didn't pile up. So hopefully things change in Game 4. Otherwise, we're going the distance somehow in Impunity versus Frank after this.